My name is Francis Emond, that's E-M-O-N-D. I was born in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and I was raised there until we went through high school. I worked in a mill for a couple of years, and I joined the Navy in 1938.
Is there a legacy of service in your family?
No, there is not. Most of my parents, my family, were French. They came down from Canada to work in the mills in New England.
When you joined the Navy, what was your motivation for doing so?
My main motivation was to get out of the mill where I worked, because it looked like I was going to be there my whole life. So I wanted to do something a little bit more than that. I heard a radio broadcast that the Navy was looking for musicians, and I had been a French horn player in high school, so I applied for the Navy. And I was one of the few to be selected to join the Navy.
Did you enjoy playing the French horn?
Yes, I enjoyed it very much. I played it all the way through high school, but then I hadn't played it for 2 years until I joined the Navy, so it was my instrument.
Tell us a little bit about your training when you joined.
When I joined the Navy, I went to Norfolk for recruit training, and at Norfolk I received my uniform and a bunch of shots and indoctrination for about a month into the Navy. And then they sent me back up to Washington, D.C. to the School of Music.
So what was it like playing in the U.S. Navy band?
Well, it was fine playing in the bands. We always enjoyed that. I was assigned to Navy Band number 8. There was 23 players and one leader. So we lived together and we worked together, and we were a unit. So it was nice to be a part of a group.
Take us through a typical day in the U.S. Navy band, your day, your duty, and what have you.
If aboard the ships, of course, I did most of my time on the ships. If the ship was in port, we would play morning colors, and then we rehearse a little bit maybe, and then we'd set up during the noontime lunch hour. And we play all through that, and then the evening we would do the same. We were in evening at noontime we'd play real light music, and sometime in the evening we would set up a stage band and play some of that, and then some marches and that. If we were at sea duty, if we were steaming at sea on the Pennsylvania, our station was on the aft mast. Top the mast, we were the surface lookouts, because the ship had no radar in those days, so they had to depend on sailors with the glasses to search the seas for other ships.
Were you stationed on the USS Pennsylvania right from your training?
No. In 1938, when I joined the Navy, shortly after that, when they formed our band, we went on a shakedown cruise of a new light cruiser, the Phoenix, I believe it was the name. We went to South America, on the east coast of South America, down as far as Buenos Aires, and then we came back up the same way. And then we went back to the school for a little more training. Then we went to New York City, to Flushing, where they had the 1940 World's Fair there, and we lived in tents on the edge of the fairgrounds, and every day we marched into the fair and we played colors and the arrivals of all the important the visitors they had coming. And after that, we went back to the school for a little more training, and then, well, that was 39, I believe. Not from 39, we went to we were assigned to a cruiser in the Pacific Fleet. So we left Norfolk by an ammunition ship and went around through the canal to the west coast. And we joined our ship there. It was a light cruiser, the Honolulu, I believe it was the name of that one. And we stayed on the Honolulu until the middle of 1941, when our Admiral Kimmel was selected to be Sink-Pack Fleet. And the Admiral's ship was the battleship Pennsylvania. So when he moved to the Pennsylvania, he liked our band, so we traveled there with him. That was the reason that we were there at the time.
When would you say that you arrived at Pearl Harbor?
In late '39, they sent the Pacific Fleet to Pearl Harbor because they thought eventually that they might be having trouble there. So,
how did your fellow mates and all feel about war with Japan? Did you feel that that was coming?
we all thought that it was a possibility. We were lookouts, so they were studying little cards with pictures of Japanese planes and the Japanese ships. So if we happened to see one, we would know what they were. But we were not concerned with it too much.
Take me to the night before that attack on Pearl Harbor.
The night before, we were playing a dance band concert in a big hall on the 1010 dock, and the swing bands were playing, and each band would play a set of three, and then the other band would play another set. One was on one side of the hall, one on the other. And we played that. We did that to about 11 o'clock, a little bit later. And since our battleship was in dry dock close to there, so a lot of our crew were there. So the winner was won by the amount of applause that they received. So we had most of our crew on the ship. So I think that's one of the reasons why we were selected to be the winner of that thing. The other bands, each battleship had a band, and even though they weren't playing, I think they all come over to listen. So the Arizona band crew was there, and of course they were all about the same age as we were. They were band number 22, and they left about midnight on their launch to go back to their ship.
All right, well, take us to December 7th, 1941, and explain that day to us.
In our group of battleships, it was our turn to play morning colors. So we were lined up on the stern of our battleship. We were in the dry dock, and we were overlooking the whole harbor. And it was a beautiful morning. And we had decided to go play tennis that morning. But at 5 minutes to 8, we saw a line of planes come in over the left, and small prop planes, and the first one peeled off and dropped something. I thought maybe some of the tail had come off or something, so I watched it until it hit a hangar over on the air station, and that exploded up in flames and smoke and a lot of noise, which startled us really. We looked back up and saw the big red spots on the fuselage of the airplanes. So immediately it dawned on us that was the Japanese were there. And at that time, a plane that came down from our left, from the entrance of the harbor, a torpedo plane, and I could see it drop its torpedo right by our stern. It was headed to some ships on the left. I saw the wooden floats come off the torpedoes, so the torpedoes wouldn't sink in the mud. and the man in the aft cockpit of the torpedo plane had a machine gun that looked like he was firing at us. You could see the red flashes of the machine gun. You could hear the metal clips on the turret behind us. He was shooting a little bit high, but the torpedo went under I believe it was the Oglala, a mine lane ship, and hit a cruiser which was alongside it on the pier. The Oglala was a wooden ship, so I could see all the wood flying up through the air. And at that time, of course, this all happened with a matter of seconds, like it seemed like all the same time. And then we knew we had to get down to the battle station. And at that time, throughout the ship, you could hear the signs: general quarters, no drill. So me and a friend of I had the man. We were assigned to the aft repair party. So we started down that way. As we're going down the ladders, we went through the compartment where we slept. So I took my French horn and I put it under my mattress. I didn't know whether I was going to help it or not, but we went down to our repair party and we sat there. Of course, everybody sat on the steel deck because there's no chairs around it. So, after quite a while, we felt the ship shake. So we know that we had received a bomb hit. The ship got extremely warm because a little bit after that, there were two destroyers in the dry dock with us, and they were smashed, and all the oil had leaked into the dry dock, was on fire. So the sides of the ship was on fire with all the paint that they had on the ship. And the gunner who was in charge of our group began to get real worried with the heat, because our main guns used black powder, which was very explosive, and he was afraid it'd get too hot that the powder might explode. But they were able to flood the dry dock a little bit in order to put the fires out. So we were safe from that. But then we got word, my friend and I, who had a stretcher, and that was our job there. So we were assigned to go pick up the dead and the wounded people.
Now you mentioned when that plane came in, you were close enough to see the bullets coming out of the gun.
Oh yes.
How close? Explain to us how close that really was.
It was probably about 100 foot, maybe 150 foot is all.
So you could see the plane clearly.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yes, sir. And if I close my eyes, I can still see it.
Still see that.
Right.
Now you said that you were in charge of or part of the stretcher crew, so you helped.
Right. There was two of us assigned to the aft repair party, and two other. The band was the members were spread around the ship where they needed men to do stuff like that. So.
What's the one memory that sticks in your mind from that day?
The main memory was the problem we had trying to pick up someone who was close to the blast of the bomb, the explosions, because the flesh was all burnt, so you couldn't pick them up by the flesh. You had to pick them up by the shoes, and then the uniform was undershirts and white shorts at that time. So we had a problem getting them up off the deck into the stretcher, and the smell of the burnt flesh is still something that remains with me. So.
And what did you from there? Where did you go?
They were able to repair us enough because the bomb went down through the middle. It didn't disturb the engine or anything. So I think it was 12 days later we left. We left Pearl Harbor, our battleship, and we had one destroyer as an escort, and we went north, looking for the fleets, the Japanese fleets or anything. We went up around Alaska, and the Aleutians, then back down along the coast, the west coast, and about a month later we arrived in San Francisco, and they put our ship into the repair yards there. And that was when they installed anti-aircraft guns on the ship. All those old battleships, I think there was 9 of us, that had no anti-aircraft guns that could shoot at these small planes. So some of the destroyers, the newest ships, they had some, but our ships, old battleships, were 20 years or more old. So we didn't have any then, but in the shipyard they installed them on the ship. So.
Now, how many years were you in?
I entered in 38, and I had to leave in 68.
So what was the feeling when you heard that the Japanese had surrendered?
I just don't remember that at all. I mean, it was. I had spent the last part of World War II in the Mediterranean, as on the ship there as part of the Sixth Fleet, and when that ended, when the war in Europe ended, I came back to Washington to our school, and I got to be the leader of the bands, and I just don't remember because I was way on the East Coast at that time. So.
Any other moments that you would like to share with us in your long career?
No, it's I enjoyed being in the service. I enjoyed being the leader of the bands. I got to be. I had a real talent for being a conductor. So I was a classical conductor, and I enjoyed that very much. I had one 3-year period in San Diego. I had a 100-piece band there for that time, which was very, very nice. And I did my last tour in Pensacola. It was very nice there. And, but after 30 years, I had to retire. So if they would have let me, I would have been happy to stay another 10 years because it's nice to be a player in the band, but it's much more fun to be the leader.
So going back one last time to December 7th, remembering that day, what would be something that you remember that made you most proud?
That day, I was very proud of the ability of the crew and to take care of the wounded and get the dead out of the way and everything. The way it was handled. That's it doesn't the bomb went down the midships where the main battle dressing station was. But they had a small one in the stern of the ship, and there was one doctor there. But everyone was taken care of. We were that afternoon. We were issued rifles and ammo in case they invaded. So we were ready for that. But there didn't seem to be any confusion or anything. We all had the jobs. Specific things we had to do, and everyone was at their jobs. At that.
Once you retired from the service, what did you do in civilian life?
I was a marina manager for 10 years, and after that, I was old enough to start Social Security. So I just did a few odd jobs then, but I had two sons, and they were in college, so I had to keep up a little bit. So we just got along fine. That's it. You notice when I get going on Pearl Harbor and talking about the dead people, I start stammering a little bit.
You were awesome. You were awesome.
So it's yeah, you just can't help but feel it, even though it was a long time ago.